facilitator, and the gentleman on the right in that first part, he's actually a second-year teacher. And so Fame's really been helping him work on his instruction, and as he said, his planning really did not have that skill level quite yet. And so Fame has really helped him think about sort of backwards design and really focus a lot more on his planning than he ever has before. And please make sure that you mute your audio so that we don't hear you, or I will we can actually do that for you too. So just to share a little bit about what some of our educators are saying about focusing on formative assessment. Students are giving feedback, they're critiquing each other's work, it helps them take ownership of their learning. It's have a clearer journey of where they're going, and that's value. I'm going to have to go through and mute everyone here. Sorry, just give me a moment. There's a lot of discussion. So notice it changes the mindset, and where students actually know where they are at any point in time. And so Lee Sutton, the principal at Lockerbie Middle School, and a number of our other administrators participating have pointed out to us that they can go into a classroom and ask students exactly where they are in their learning. Not what they're learning, but where they are in their learning, and students can actually communicate that. This past week, we were visiting 2 of our elementary schools, filming their classrooms, and first graders were able to tell us exactly where they were in their progression of learning. So it's exciting. I love this last quote. It helps us look at what we're communicating with our grading system to parents and students. As Marshall Kowecki noted in the video, he has fewer grades, but he's communicating that what is important to his students is mastery, and not just a grade on an assignment. About formative assessment, we know there are a lot of definitions being thrown around. Some of them are, by our testing companies that are trying to sell us products. But in Maryland, our definition is that formative assessment is a process. It's not an item, it's not a test. A number of these things can be used formatively as part of the process, but formative assessment is a process used by teachers and students during instruction to provide feedback to adjust ongoing teaching and learning with the intention to improve students' achievement of intended instructional outcomes. If you break that down, if you look at some of the highlighted or the words that are in red, it's a process, and we'll come back to that many, many times. There are many elements to this process that you'll learn about in our leadership training and throughout the modules, but it is not a thing. And I think every teacher that we've interviewed, every administrator has pointed out that that is a major change. We're not looking at formative assessment as a thing. It is a complete process. Also teachers and students. What you'll hear is that students are taking ownership of their learning, which is something that we all want. We want students to know where they are in their learning, to know what they need to do next, and to know how to ask for that help. If they understand something, it's great if they can say exactly what they don't understand as opposed to just saying, I don't get it. So it's providing feedback to the teacher, providing feedback to the student about where they are in their learning. The definition has been adopted by the Formative Assessment Work Group that we are a part of with CCSSO, which is the Council of Chief State School Officers, as well as AERA, APA, and NCME. And I believe many of our content-based national organizations are adopting this definition as well. I know as an English teacher that NCTE is using it as well. So to time the course, so we have a multi-pronged approach to really deepening and creating that meaningful change. And so on this slide, we have some of the outcomes of this professional learning program, some of our goals. But we know that to do formative assessment well, teachers require new ways of planning lessons, dramatically new ways to involve students in the work of the classroom. The hallmark of this professional learning is that it moves teachers to think about the significant cultural changes required in classrooms, where students have more ownership, involvement in setting learning and understanding their progress. And so some of those features, deepening the use of formative data to adjust instruction and provide descriptive feedback. We know often data is seen as a dirty word, but we're looking at data that's numbers, that is, quantitative, qualitative, and using that information on a daily basis to provide feedback to adjust instruction, and not teachers using that data, students as well. And I think that last bullet point is something that we often take for granted, understanding the features of a collaborative classroom culture and how it facilitates peer and self-assessment. We've all seen a classroom where students don't feel comfortable asking for help, talking to each other. And one great quote from this week from one of our administrators was that the idea of the silent, everybody sitting in rows classroom is a thing of the past. What we want to see is students collaborating, working together, assisting each other, not just doing group work, but actually assisting each other in their learning. And one feature of FAME is really working on how to create that environment and learning about it from your colleagues as well. And so our professional learning design, this is a big question. So FAME, just to give you a quick overview, is a year-long cohort-based professional learning program. That means that typically we have a school-based team of teachers participating. Our smallest school group is 4 teachers. Our largest at an elementary school, it's a whole school. And I think there are about 35 teachers at another high school. They're all completing FAME, and they are about 30 teachers as well. So each teacher will complete first the self-study online modules. They have an application activity. They have a community of practice. And then we also have leadership support. And so I'm going to go into each of those a little more in depth. But to talk about this, when formative assessment really takes root, we see changes in teacher behavior, we see changes in student behavior, we see changes in how educators work together as a larger school community. So in designing this professional learning, the reason that it has this composition, we wanted to structure it to attend to and support each of these elements. And so to that end, there are 5 design features. MSDE support, which we'll talk about at the end, because this is a race to the top program. All of the materials, all of the work will remain. We're just not sure what the type of MSDE support will be next year. We are working on that plan. To start with, we have the self-study online modules. At the end, if you would like, I can give you a login so that you can take a look at them, see the modules, and see what it involves. They are self-paced online modules, and the time requirement is about 3 to 4 hours per module. So about 45 minutes or so per lesson. They're broken down by lesson. There are either 4 or 5 lessons per module. They include readings, there are quizzes, there are videos, and next year, one of the things that we've been doing is filming a lot of our FAME classrooms. So next, all the videos and modules will be Maryland Classroom. I will show you a preview of the modules now, so you can just sort of get that idea, but I will give you a login at the end if you would like to take a look yourself. It's kind of hard to understand just from a video. So share the screen with you again.
Link on the left-hand side to be brought to the FAME modules landing page. You will see the 5 FAME modules, as well as an introductory module. You will also notice that in addition to the modules, there are other course resources linked, including an iPad version of FAME. From time to time, new documents are added, so your screen may look slightly different. Let's access Mod 1 by clicking on the link. This brings us to the FAME Module 1 landing page. As previously mentioned, there are 5 modules. These are broken into lessons designed to be completed in approximately 30 minutes each. We'll complete these lessons in a sequence. Each module consists of a link to the downloadable Community of Practice prep document, 3 more lessons, and a link to the module resources. The numbered module landing page for each of the 5 modules. Participating the FAME course. Launch Module 1, Lesson 1 from the FAME landing page and focus on the navigation of the course. Notice that the lesson opens in a new window. We let you maximize the window in order to view the window with the least amount of scrolling necessary. Note, if you are using a Mac, you will have to click and drag in order to expand. Each module will not begin automatically. Notice a large triangle with the text. Click here to begin the lesson. Click triangle and begin the FAME lesson. Button provides you with information about your progress through the lesson. Once the topic is complete, a check mark will appear indicating that that topic is complete. The question mark button links to frequently asked questions. Click the button to reveal the answer on the right. The sidebar, you will see 3 tabs. On the way to the left, you will see the menu tab, which serves as a table of contents for the lesson. The titles of all the slides contained within the lesson. It can also be used as an alternative navigation method. Rather than clicking the next or previous button, you can click on the slide you would like to view, and you will be redirected to the new slide. Highlight indicate current slide being viewed. The text slide will be read until you've visited the slide. Completed the slide, it will change to black. The teacher will assist you with marking your progress within the lesson. To the lesson, scroll and click Finish. The module landing page. Here, you can also access all of the module resources. On Module 1, but you access the resources for all of the modules by clicking on the tabs above. The lessons contain different types of screens. Students are sometimes prompted to complete a self-assessment where you can reflect on your knowledge, skills, or practice. Additionally, there may be slides with direct instruction and/or interactions, such as checks for understanding, where participants answer questions about concept or reading. Lessons also contain video called Picture Practice, where participants can see the topic of the lesson in action in a real classroom. Please pause the video at any time using the pause button below. Of every module, participants are asked to complete an application activity. Note icons. Linkable buttons that link to a document or provide additional information on a specific topic. Note that these open in Dropbox and can be accessed, downloaded, saved, or printed. Your progress is tracked for easy navigation to the last page visited. If at any time you need to leave a lesson within a module, you move to that point at a later time. If you go and then reopen the lesson where you just were, you will see a screen that asks you whether or not you'd like to resume where you left off. If you'd like to resume where you left off, or say no if you want to start again at the beginning.
Okay. Just a brief, I know it's 5 minutes, but it's a brief overview of the modules. And again, I will give you a link if you'd like to take a look yourself and play around a bit. The content framework, there are 5 modules, and as I said, each takes about 4 hours to complete. I apologize for the coughing. This one is really foundational, so it's understanding of assessment as a process, it's looking at the research base, and really just giving that foundational background framework. The second module goes through planning. So it's looking at the planning process using the formative assessment mindset and creating a unit plan and a lesson plan using the formative assessment planning tool. Module 3 is eliciting and using data, where teachers actually will be using some of the formative assessment moves to take a look at collecting and utilizing that data. The fourth module is about engaging students, so it's creating that really collaborative classroom climate, peer and self-assessment. And then the fifth module is deepening and sustaining practice. So in this module, you're really looking at how to fully integrate this into all of your practice. I'm sorry again. So the online content focus for Module 1 is here in front of you. As I mentioned, each module has an application activity where you take that learning and you apply it directly to your classroom. We like to say that FAME and formative assessment are content agnostic, which means that they work in any content area. We have teachers from the four core areas. We have the arts, we have physical education and health, and we have an entire technical school participating this year. So it can work in culinary, in HVAC, pre-engineering, or elementary English class. And so after completing the application activity, the teachers come together the following month for unity of practice, which is a highly structured, organized professional learning community. They discuss, they share, they assist each other, and people really love the community of practice because it gives you an opportunity to meet with your colleagues that you may not consistently get together with. These are people outside of your content area or grade level often. Some of the best discussions and ideas are shared. The leadership responsibilities for Module 1, and really the entire year-long part of the course, is supporting your teachers. So supporting the dialogue in this particular one about assessment practices, but really supporting the dialogue, taking feedback from your teacher team about some of those obstacles that exist, some of those barriers, finding ways to break them down. This is the Module 1 application activity. This is a really interesting assignment. Teachers actually complete an assessment grid where they look at all the different types of assessments, the use of data, and what they would like to learn more about. And this is kind of timely considering the discussion about our overuse of assessment right now. So it created a lot of interesting conversations, especially when groups where they can do some of that vertical alignment. So looking at what the first grade and second grade teams do and how they can create a little bit more consistency between them. Exercise leads to a discussion they have as a community of practice, what the assessment system looks like and how they might want that to change. We use Susan Brockhart's concept of a useful balance as a catalyst for that conversation. So this graphic organizes assessment around two axes, more formative to more summative, and large scale to more classroom focused. And she notes that we often think that looks like this, everything is equal. But she proposes that we might think of a useful balance of assessments as something that looks more like this, a system skewed more towards formative classroom focused assessment. We want the community of practice to have this discussion to say where are we now, and what would we have to change in order to get close to this useful balance. It's so important to have these conversations among colleagues. Teachers often say, this looks great, but I can't do it because X, Y, Z, and they're often justified in this. But as a group, you can actually identify those barriers and bring the school leadership team into the conversation. Our school leaders often community to practice, and those who don't have a conversation with the facilitator afterwards to any information back that they may need. So what we want you to see is how aligned the components are and how they build upon each other to promote not only deep understanding, but to lay the groundwork for meaningful changes in practice in classrooms and around schools. This module, as I mentioned, is planning for classroom formative assessment. So this is where we start examining those elements of formative assessment, such as big ideas and learning goals, success criteria, and learning progressions. And module is pretty meaty, so this is where you're really getting into learning. The application activity is to revise an upcoming unit plan to incorporate formative assessment and planning elements. So I've said this before, but this is not something new. People do this with formative assessment, but really the key is that we are helping teachers their practices and incorporate formative assessment consistently, all of the elements together. So taking the work that we already do, taking an upcoming unit plan, and we're working on incorporating formative assessment into that. Sitting and using formative data. So it's incorporating more formative assessment into classroom routines, it's managing and interpreting data and adjusting instruction. And we know that there is an obsession right now with collecting data. However, there's not always the support on what to do with that information once gathered it. And that's what teachers really want the assistance in, and this module really helps with that. And the application activity is to select a routine featured in Module 3 and use it to collect a formative data set and adjust instruction. I've heard questioning seems to be quite the popular one at the moment, but there are a number of routines featured in Module 3 that teachers can use. Module 4 is engaging the student to take next steps. So it's building a collaborative culture, providing descriptive feedback, and peer and self-assessment. So it's taking feedback to the next level and giving them feedback that is descriptive enough for them to actually do something with it. It is actionable, it is timely, and it's the right amount. So they have two options for this application activity: collect samples of student work and craft statements of effective feedback, or they can draft a lesson plan that provides students the opportunity to share feedback with each other. And so for the Module 4 community of practice, our teachers bring that with them, discuss it, and really look at improving their practice in this. The Module 5 is complete formative assessment process as a whole and reflection and next steps. Are so important, and I think that's one of the greatest things that FAME offers. It encourages, almost forces teachers to reflect on their practice, to reflect on the lesson they prepared or they actually led, and that time for reflection is something that we all want, but we don't often take that time for ourselves to have that reflection. And a lot of our teachers have said because FAME is forcing to reflect at certain points, they're doing it more consistently now. And so you'll note this application activity is useful, to really have good ideas, but often they don't know what the right route is to give that feedback. So draft recommendations regarding formative assessment practice for the leadership team. And then they also complete a self-assessment using a continuum of practice rubric, which is something you'll learn more about at leadership in May. And so to becoming a part of the leadership team, talking about that practice. So what can we do to encourage formative assessment practices in our school? What are the barriers that exist for all our teachers to become part of this? What are the policies? What is our school improvement plan? What is our professional learning plan? So it's really looking at the school holistically and thinking about all of these different elements that help make your school formative assessment school. We have the application activities. So they're essential to take what's explored through the online course and begin to apply the concepts in the classroom. And the feature of strong online learning. If you've ever taken an online course, it's really important that the content directly applies to what teachers are doing in their classrooms. So the application activities bring this to light. The time required for the application activity varies, and we've noticed that many of our teachers, after the community practice, go back and work more on their application activity. They take the feedback that their colleagues have given them and they want to improve as we do. So they take that feedback and they work and change their application activity. Online modules, typically at the end of each learning segment. And I've talked a little about each of the application activities, but they're really all designed to enhance current practice by integrating the application activity into the current classroom environment. We are not asking people to start over at all. As you noticed Salins of Caroline County said, our teachers, our really experienced teachers, felt lost when Common Core came in. And FAME is not something completely new. It's asking you to look at your practices and integrate. And we have the community of practice, which I touched upon briefly. The community of practice is 90 minutes of protected time. Most communities of practice need more time. Some of our groups have office hours in between their communities of practice, so teachers can get together and chat after school or during lunch in a computer lab. But it's really 90 minutes of protected time to go through and deepen their learning, identify areas that they need a little bit more guidance on, and really talk through everything they did together. And probably the most element and something that people always want more time for, which is difficult because we know time is at a premium. And during the community of practice, there is a very structured agenda. Each community of practice packet for facilitators, it's about 30 pages of optional materials for extensions. So there's the agenda, which is 2 pages. There are numerous videos, readings, all of the extra activities that they can complete. It's a great time to ask and answer questions and learn from your colleagues. And one thing is that this looks different at every single school. We will have videos in the module that explore the communities of practice at several different schools, at the elementary, middle, and high school level. And while everybody does generally follow the agenda, it is really sort of a malleable thing. You adjust depending on the needs of your participants. And so something that you had originally allotted 30 minutes for may only take 15. Something that you originally allotted 15 minutes for, people want to use 40 for. So it's really up to the needs of the participants. It's really valuable in professional learning. And just a few quotes about the community of practice. Our facilitator from our early education elementary school in Worcester County, so that we're able to review, reflect, share, and revise any strategies that made adjustment as we model and support students in the self-assessment process. Participants report a clearer understanding of the process and implementation following each COP. COP is cooperative struggle leading to collective understanding of the process, comprehension, and implementation of formative ideas. We will have videos for leadership, but just know the community of practice is seen to be the most valuable part of FAME because it's something different. So successful facilitators. So each community practice is led by a facilitator. They do not have to be an expert in formative assessment. That is something that a lot of our facilitators were really nervous about starting out, but they realized that they're just guiding them. So facilitators promote broad participation. It's just like you would as a teacher, encouraging everybody to share, making sure everybody gets equal time to talk. You have equity, you trust, because people call it courageous conversation. Sometimes people admit that they don't know what they're doing. That's really difficult to do. So they have to build trust. They have to maintain an open stance, make connections. Don't when the learning gets messy. This is something that a lot of our facilitators say, we have to adjust. And our first community practice, we thought we're going to stay with the agenda. And then we realized that was not supporting our learners. And then supporting follow-through beyond meeting time, whether that's just a quick check-in, every other week, or like I mentioned, office hours or whatever it is, just making sure that people are getting to where they need to be. And if they need that extra support, helping to provide it. During structured meetings, one of the first things that you do is review work done since the last meeting, outline key concepts from the current online module, key strategies to implement key concepts prior to the next session. So there's a lot of goal setting, like we want for our students, we do for ourselves. Outlining strategies to support each other to continue and deepen the work. So during this time, a lot of people decide to do classroom visits. They talk about upcoming lessons that they might want other people to see, which is wonderful. And then there's a lot of reflection on progress, as I mentioned. the facilitator does not need to be an expert in formative assessment. Really guiding the process, their time, they're encouraging support, accountability. So keeping everybody honest, make sure that people feel comfortable saying, no, I didn't complete the application activity yet. That is okay. And creating a climate for genuine inquiry and continuously improve practice. That we like to make. Some of ours don't have an hour and a half that they can dedicate to this, so what they do is 2 45-minute sessions. One of our schools really wanted to incorporate this into something else they were doing, and we encouraged them to keep it separate because they need that protected time. They need to know that those meetings are happening consistently. If you've ever been part of any sort of team or organization and the meetings aren't happening consistently, you know that it all starts to sort of fall apart. And so the teachers know this is happening. You set the dates at the beginning of the school year once you get your testing calendar, of course. And you know that these are the dates that you're going to meet. These are the expectations, and these meetings will always happen. They will be organized. They will be well led. It just sets the teacher's mind at ease, and they know that way it'll be for the long haul. It's just another thing that will come and go. Finally, we have the leadership. So leaders need to know that know and have a role in supporting this work. We had a number of questions about May leadership, whether administrators need to attend. We need one administrator to attend to be aware of what's going on so that they can support the work. So that some of our teachers want to make sure that if an administrator is coming to observe their classroom, they know that it's going to look different and what it should look like as a formative assessment classroom. So we know that in sites where leaders are actively involved in modeling, supporting, and integrating this work into the school experience, these sites are more successful and teachers report a better learning experience. They all feel a lot more supported. When you know that your leadership is also learning along with you, it gives more confidence in the work that you're doing. They can identify ways that this is supported throughout the building. So looking at it as a building-wide learning goal, exploring teachers' emerging practices together in faculty meetings and team meetings. We have a number of schools that report in their content area meetings. Celebrate successes in reaching students through new classroom strategies, provide opportunities for building-level community practice leaders to meet and discuss their progress. I will be having this year fall follow-ups that I led for leaders. Next year, we're going to have a simplified version of the online modules for leaders that meets the need of school leaders. So it identifies the rings that they should be aware of, some of the videos of classroom practice, and really helps support sort of those walkthrough tools, those leadership tools that they learn about in leadership this May to help support teachers throughout the school year. Principal at Liberty High School in Carroll County said, in her opinion, the culture you develop around professional learning and setting the stage for your teachers to take risks is critically important in implementing FAME, because we know that if we try something new, it might not always work. And so it's really important for leaders to be aware of that and to know what that formative assessment classroom might look like, to know that the teacher is trying something that may or may not work because it's the first time. So that's important for leaders to be aware of and for teachers to see that their leaders are involved in. So leadership training, as you've heard before, we have leadership training May 4th and 5th. It is 2 days. They are 2 jam-packed days where leaders and facilitators from each school-based cohort have the opportunity to learn about the content, to learn about how leaders can support this work, get a preview of the work that teachers will be doing, to help to see what the formative assessment classrooms will look like. And also a big part of it is to articulate a compelling vision of how that formative assessment will support teaching and learning in their school. So we ask that people bring their school improvement plan, mission and vision, their professional learning plan, anything else that really conveys the message to your teachers. And we have have a large portion of time for school-based planning. And this year we'll have all of our new schools attending. We'll also have some of our returners coming to help support that process as well. In a page on our blog, you can see the agenda from last year. It will be adjusted. We'll have that information released within the next few weeks. We're working diligently to get that ready. So implementation, teachers who successfully implement, keeping in mind that this is a year-long initiative. They commit to that continuous improvement. So know that it's going to be something that they're going to have to keep working at, because we see videos of classroom practice, realize that this did not happen overnight. These classrooms did not change within just a couple weeks. They complete the online coursework, they complete readings and application activities, they participate in the community of practice. So all out, it's about 30 hours total of work, which is CPD credits are granted. Report that they find and keep those meeting times, very important. They complete the prep work, they facilitate the meetings, and they promote honest reflection and dialogue. To successfully implement, report that they gain familiarity with the content. We do not expect our school leaders to complete all of the modules in the same manner, but most of ours have so far. But those leadership modules that will be available, leaders to have sort of a condensed version of what teachers are learning. The biggest thing is that they identify and reinforce connections to other work and address and monitor barriers to successful implementation. So there's the 2 days of summer or spring leadership training and then fall support. The reason that we really want leaders to attend leadership and be involved is because a lead teacher might have the primary responsibility, but when an administrator isn't involved, implementation is less thorough and less successful. And if the school administrators are completing observations and evaluations, they need to know what a formative assessment classroom looks like so they can properly evaluate their teachers. Getting to the end of the presentation just before questions, to prepare for cohort 2, we have all our webinars from last year on our YouTube channel. Review the webinars from last year. They are very in-depth. You can gain familiarity with the content. We have all of our information on our blog. You can register for the leadership and identify facilitators and structure your community of practice. Some people choose to do it after school, others embed it in their PLCs, so thinking about what model might be. Could be the modules, as I mentioned, or you can request a school presentation or WEX virtual Q&A. So we could come to your school and talk with your teachers about SAME, or we could do this virtually, thanks to the joys of modern technology. And now, Margaret Heritage is, if you don't know her, she's a formative assessment guru, and she actually works with us on this project very closely. She's wonderful. But she emphasizes that it's a continuous process. We say it's a process. She emphasizes that it's continuous process of teaching and learning that helps teachers and students to better meet learning goals. I want to end with a quick video from some teachers because they gave some great information on their advice for implementation. I think it's important to hear from the people actually doing the work. So,
there's a lot of ways to implement it, and there's a lot of ways to go right with it. There's the little path where you have to feel like, oh, I'm not doing it right, even though a lot of us here have said those words. But that's constantly been my message to them. I don't. There's not. It's hard to do it wrong. You're just trying it, and in trying it, you're going to figure it out and how it works for you.
Suggestion to other school leaders is that you find folks that are ready and willing to embark on the experience. It may be 3, it may be 17, but it starts for a change in your school.
That was a leader and a facilitator. The contact information you could possibly need. Our blog, our cohort blog for current participants, our Twitter account where we tweet out a lot of information. We have our YouTube channel, and then also my email address. So I will go ahead and unmute everyone right now. If you have a question, you can either type it in the chat box or you can go ahead and ask it. I think I've unmuted everyone. Any questions? If you ask. Others, thank you for joining me.
I don't have any questions. Do you have any? Okay, okay. I wasn't.
Is there a minimum number? Let's see here. Is there a minimum number of teachers you would recommend to participate? The smallest amount we have at a school is currently 4. I feel like 10 is a happy number. That seems to be, for a small group, that's a good amount. If there are more than 10 teachers participating, typically people will have more than one facilitator. It just, things kind of get too big for everyone to be able to share. But we do have teams where there are, I think Lee mentioned there were exactly 17 people at Lockerman, and they meet in one room together with one facilitator. So it really depends on the school, but the minimum is probably about 4. Otherwise, it's not really going to expand out very much. That will be shared. Question. Can we have 2 facilitators with a small group of 4 to 5 teachers? Yes, that is possible. We have co-facilitators in a number of our schools. With cohort 2. So cohort 2 starts this school year, and we have a number of people. If they could start the modules this summer, that's fine. It's just that they can get ahead on their learning, because we know that September and October are crazy months in school. But the cohort is basically the entire school year.
Okay.
Cohort 2, because we've had to go through. This is a pilot year, the first year, so. This into the chat with the modules, if you would like to take a look. It is at ce.blackboard.com. And the login, the login is in the upper right corner. It's super tiny, but the login is same. And the password that you will use is SDE LMS.
When did this start?
Question?
Great.
Is right there. The login ID is same, and the password is MSDELMS. You log in and take a look at the modules, the video, all of those things. Please just keep in mind that the videos will be different next year, because they will all be in our classroom, which is very exciting. Any questions before we wrap up? Administrators can't attend. So we just ask that one administrator attend the leadership. We're potentially looking at another date in June, or two-day event in June, but we can't guarantee it. If your administrator can't attend or your group can't attend because unfortunately it's park testing, please send me an email. What we've done in the past is another leadership at a school. We would come to your school for 2 days or a school-based site, and if there are enough other schools that have the same situation, then we can organize a separate one. We just would not be able to get our STED team down for that, unfortunately. This PowerPoint is on the website. It is all on the FAME leadership, our webinar site. And I will copy and paste that, and the videos are all there as well.
I'm comfortable going down there.
Questions? Otherwise, I'm going to wrap this up.
Dial the number.
Stop the recording. This webinar will be archived on our website, so you can check that out. If you want to send colleagues to it as well, it will be there.